No, it's not Gino, it's Gino's Beats, and that.
All right, so you've got your audio on, but not the camera.
Yep.
Yay,
Yay.
it works.
It's me.
Hello, you can't see me. I'm waving.
I'm being assaulted. Send help.
I couldn't tell on the, because the my, listen, shit.
Yeah, hold on.
Hi,
Let me,
people.
go
Oh. Okay, we got people.
to the no background for a minute. So
All right.
that,
Now I can wave. Looking his ear up. It should be recording.
oh, yeah. Pause,
Yeah.
stop recording. So it's automatically recording.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna cut the video up so that people don't have to see this part of it. Because, you know, the part where we talk about how we're reporting, and all that. People are here, but this,
We have
got a
pizza, so
couple
people are
people.
getting pizza.
people are out there getting pizza,
Yeah.
so that's what you're missing.
Hi, Callie.
Hey, Jordan. Hey, K-Jax.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Do you know how, I can't connect you to YouTube now. Well, you would have to log into the YouTube. and connect it. On this, yeah, I think you have to be logged in here.
The virtual, the little crystal shard. Yeah, from the year before last, and you just stick it in there and there'd actually be some circuitry to the shard.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
Dang, that's a real deal. Yeah. You guys are right with stickers and everything. I didn't see this.
It'll be a minute. Everybody's getting pizza and we're getting settled down. And then I'll do announcements and then I'll let Bourbon take over.
Oh, yeah, there's.
Oh, you want the people in here to see the slides too?
You know, I thought it might be nice. if People in here could see the slides. Do you have? Go.
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
It was awesome. That's like, why do you think this?
Oh, yeah.
Here you go.
Mirroring.
They're such a,
I think so, only like a 40 minutes.
Right.
The entire place is tired. It is. They are much is. But it's a long game. That was like a cool one where you get to like really see like how a team would collaborate on, oh shit.
Yeah.
And why or why not. It was cool. That was cool. That was like one of the cooler things I've seen. It's actually, we should drop that stuff. Yeah. I think that's like a great. Like, we work with a bunch of clients and if they play their security.
Sort of make like that.
It's like, that's an awesome exercise, you know? So.
Yeah.
How long have you been in security space? Yeah, we connected on LinkedIn, aren't you? Did you go through like a training program or? You just, maybe I'm so wrong.
Okay, I gotta quit and reopen the Zoom so I can share my screen. Let's see.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah. 31, 32. I'm just here to say.
Was it that Mac thing or?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, like the actual.
Yeah, I wanted to see what's that. Not yet.
All right.
Not yet. Take your two worlds to Latin together. That was it?
I mean, it's very good.
It's like, imagine what. I've watched a couple movies where they're like, all right.
Do you have any announcements that you need to make, or is it just me?
I think it's just you.
I don't have either.
But not the only thing that's like subscribing or anything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check with Ty if he
Even
has
like right
anything.
now, like 40 hackers, they can't 40.
Oh, really?
I will kill you by bringing AC to 80, you will sweat to death. Right here in
Yeah,
your car.
if you did that in Orlando in August.
Oh, yeah, no, that,
That's exactly, that really is. Sorry. Yes, I am, I'm gonna make a plan, gentlemen, next year.
So I believe it's the plans. Cool. I didn't get a shit about it. Like, I think seriously, I did not put it on my calendar. Whoops,
What do you need?
if I did, I would.
Let's set my backpack down.
So.
We'll start soon. I'm assuming, all right, yes, the little microphone is good, green line going up and down and up and down, so I'm assuming everyone on the call can hear us.
All right, we've got the Serendipity Labs owner, who maybe then Ty is gonna make an announcement. All right.
No, we're about to get going. All right.
Pretty well.
Yes.
Oh, I
Good.
just say some.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Before we get started, I had this piece.
I had to have dinner with the family before.
Makes sense. Cool. He'll give one. He'll give one and I'll give one. Perfect.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. If anyone else-
Where am I
Yeah.
stepping from?
So set in front of your computer, we've got a Zoom meeting going on.
Okay.
Because it's a hybrid, so we've got online attendees. Awesome. Well,
Really consider.
all right, everybody, we're starting our meeting.
Excellent. Hey, everybody. My name is Walt Torres. Welcome to Serendipity Labs here in Orlando. So we're happy to host this event for, I think, the second time, right? You guys were here in December, so if I'm right. It's like the other day, right?
Yes.
So time flies. So welcome back. We're happy to host. So just a quick bit about myself. I'm the Walt Torres General Manager. So in charge of sales and operations here at Serendipity Labs. We offer office space on flexible terms, turnkey space, both office space, co-working space, as well as meeting and event space. So if you ever have a need for space, feel free to reach out to me. I've left some sign-up sheets if you want to drop your info in, or just reach out. My info is on those sheets. So if you ever have a need for any type of workspace need, just give me a call. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Big fan, big fan. They also have, like, if you need a private office, it's great. If you just want to come work out in the open, they have deals for that. Always coffee, always flavored water. So it's very nice. And it's always nice coming in, people say good morning. It's just nice. I'm Ty Sarah. I'm the director of Brooksource here in Orlando. So we're a technology and engineering staffing and consulting company. We work with Fortune 1000s, and ultimately our big thing is we want to match the best companies in Orlando with in Orlando. And so if you're looking for a job, please come talk to me. If you are a hiring manager or your hiring manager is looking for somebody, you know, that could be a great referral for me as well. I'd love to introduce myself and see if I can bring another awesome person onto your team. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm Ty. That's my colleague Alyssa over there. And we got one more to add in, it looks like, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, grab a piece of pizza, get on in here. Thank you guys so much. All right, bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm a little short. So hi. Okay, so I'm Edna. ET online. And I'm one of the co-leaders of DC407. So I just wanted to do some announcements and before we get started with the meeting speaker tonight. So we have our in-person meetings. Our next one is going to be on badges with Steve Jobs. That one is going to be end of February. And then the following month, we have InfoSec Pat is doing a talk. For our online meetings are on the second Thursday of the month. The one upcoming is going to be at 7 p.m. and that is with Randy Pargman, who is the director of threat hunting at Proofpoint, and he's going to be doing a talk on malware that he created that uses Microsoft Teams as a C2 server to hide its traffic. It is not going to be recorded, so if you want to attend, make sure you're there for the meeting because we're not going to put that on our YouTube channel. The following month after that, we have the second part of Jason Haddock's talk. He is teaching us about how to brand yourself and how to build your reputation in the community, because that is something that we are continually, as we're working in this field, we're continually building up our reputation. So that is going to be Jason Haddock's talk. And not a DC407 related thing. I'm one of the organizer of the Social Engineering Adventure Village, and we are proposing to have that village at B-Sides Tampa. So if anybody is interested in volunteering, that's going to be May 17th. Please let me know. We have to submit our package by Friday. So if you're interested in joining as a volunteer, let me know. So we'll add you to our roster. I think that is it. All right, so now I'm going to hand it over to Bourbon with his talk. Thank you.
All right, I adjust the thing because I'm a little bit taller. Oh, yeah, we didn't go through this. Standard rules apply for all DC407 meetings. Be kind and respectful. No smoking or vaping indoors, take it outside. No food or drinks beyond this room, because we want to be very kind to our hosts. They're nice enough to let us be here. We want to leave the place nicer than we found it, or at least as nice as we found it. Let's see. Do not engage in activities that infringe upon the rights of others. That's good advice in the world, but especially when you're sitting with a bunch of hackers. Connecting to open Wi-Fi, no expectation of privacy. The Wi-Fi information's right there. Let's see. Don't do bad things on the Wi-Fi. Like we told everybody they don't expect privacy, but we do expect you all to be good citizens. No exceptions. Thank you very much. That's our agenda. So I'm going to talk a little bit about monitoring Veilid. And apologies to Jordan, who's on the call, because he's already seen this slide template because our head of architecture used it at a company offsite like a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it was a nice slide template. So I stole it. So yeah, monitoring Veilid, how we watch the privacy first network while respecting the privacy of everybody who's on the privacy first network. If you were with us for our online meeting earlier this month, then you heard TC Johnson talk about Veilid. I will give it a very high level treatment because I am not TC and I'm certainly not DillDog. Veilid is a project that DillDog, who is a longtime member of the Cult of the Dead Cow, put together, started working on the code a couple of years ago, I think. That his intent was to take back the internet, build a basis upon which everyone else could build distributed, private, no tracking, open source, if you like Cory Doctorow, disenshittifying apps. It's as TC has explained it to me, which I don't 100% understand, it's like a little bit of Tor, the onion router, which like encrypts your stuff and sends it to the next hop, that encrypts it and sends it to the next hop, and then encrypts it and sends it to the next hop. So that your traffic is very well protected in route. But unlike Tor, it never actually goes out of the network. All the data stays in the network. So in that sense, it's like interplanetary file system. There's this big distributed hash table. Every app that's built on the framework is also storing data for all of the other apps that are using the framework. So all of the data lives inside the framework. It's all encrypted end to end. Your route to the data is not necessarily someone else's route to the data. So them knowing you've got access to the data doesn't let them track you down. It's a whole big thing. And let's see, that's my next slide. Launched it in August of 2023 at DEF CON 31. They had a big party, showed it off. And at that point, it was pretty much just a network with nothing on it. Just a bunch of nodes talking to each other, shaking hands, and doing nothing, waiting for people to start building apps on the network. And you can go out, you can install what they call a headless node, which is just a node on the network, not doing anything but storing data and passing network traffic around. So literally, the day I got home from DEF CON, I set up a headless node. And because I am a geek who likes logs, and I work at a company called Graylog, where we build centralized log management and security software, the first thing I did was start sucking in the logs from my headless node to see what it was doing. And there's a lot of the logs at the info level are almost non-existent, but at the debug level, it's pretty chatty. You can see it shaking hands with other nodes, stuff like that. And then because I was curious, I threw metric beat on there. I was like, all right, I want to see like what this is doing from a CPU and memory standpoint. And I started talking to TC about it. Like, here's what I'm seeing. Is this interesting? Does this mean anything? And so summer of 2024, TC kind of reached back out to me and was like, we've got this Veilid network and we've got people running their Veilid nodes, and people are starting to ask, like, what are the resource requirements? How much CPU does this thing really use? How much memory does this thing really use? How much network is this thing really using? We built it, we gave it to the world, but we can't tell people like what's a reasonable hardware setup that you need if you want to run a node, or how small of a hardware footprint does this thing really take up? And so we're like, all right, well, they set up a whole Veilid Foundation. It's a 501c3 nonprofit that oversees the entire project. They run their own hardware and they run a few headless nodes and stuff that basically keeps the whole network in sync. And we're like, all right, well, we're going to set up a Graylog server and we're going to start monitoring the logs from the Veilid Foundation's setup. So summer of 2024, right before DEF CON 32, we set up a Graylog server and we started pulling in logs from, I think they've got 4 headless nodes, 2 nodes that basically help bootstrap the network. And also we've got their build and release host and their package distribution. They're like basically their package server where everyone goes to download the latest version. So, I got the Graylog server set up, and like the first thing I did was start writing rules to parse the incoming data, because I mean, it's just log data is just strings and it has no intrinsic meaning until you start parsing it out. And so one of the first dashboards that I built for myself was a graph of how many of the incoming log messages from the last period of time have I successfully parsed and how many of them have I not written any parsing rules for yet? And my metric of success as we went through this project was knocking down the unparsed message count from starting out at like 9 million down to 0. And I had the whole list of the unparsed messages there. I'd pick the top message off the list. Then I'd have to go out to the GitLab repo and look at the actual code and figure out, like, what does this log message actually represent? What's going on? And then I write a rule to parse it and, put more meaningful information into, what Graylog saves, and then go back to the start, pick the next message that's not being parsed, rinse and repeat. So the official Veilid Graylog server is getting, like I said, logs from the 4 headless nodes, their 2 network bootstrap nodes, metric beat logs or metric beat data from every host, which gives us CPU utilization, memory, disk utilization, network traffic, and then the Nginx logs from their package repo so that we can keep track of who's downloading what. And I should, on that particular point of who's downloading what, I mentioned on one of the earlier slides, Veilid is all about privacy and making sure that people have privacy and have access to private means of communication. So one of the things TC said pretty quickly once we got the Graylog server up and running was, we don't want any IP addresses in here. I was like, all right, well, the Veilid logs are full of IP addresses. The Nginx logs are full of IP addresses. Fine, well, we'll strip those out. And then he was like, but can we tell what version of Veilid people are running? I was like, well, we got the Nginx logs. So we know, like, this IP downloaded this version of the software. And then we see that IP show up over there in the Veilid logs, but if we're stripping out all the IPs, we can't really, like, correlate these two things. So we're going to hash the IPs. We're going to hash it. We're going to throw away the original. Now we've got something that, okay, yes, you could, you could hash the entire IPv4 space and, figure this all out, but it's not worth it for anyone to do that, I hope. So that's what we're doing. We're hashing the IPs, and then we're throwing the original IPs away. And that's how we're correlating, this person downloaded this version of Veilid server. So now we know that when we see that hash show up in the Veilid logs, like, all right, they're running, 041 or 040. So we were able to kind of bring things together and build a dashboard to monitor, like, who's downloading what, and then combine that with like the unique IPs that we're seeing coming in on the Veilid server logs. And that gets us up to August of 2024, which was, TC and Dill really wanted to get all of this monitoring stuff in place before DEF CON, because at DEF CON, they were launching Veilid Chat, which was their first kind of flagship app that's built on the Veilid network, runs on the Veilid network. And it's it's an end-to-end encrypted chat app. It's not super great yet. I wouldn't say it's a Signal replacement yet. But as a proof of concept, it's kind of fun to play with. And so they really wanted to get the monitoring in place before they launched Veilid Chat, because they wanted to be able to see what happens on the network when we launch this thing at DEF CON and 20,000 hackers decide to download it and start playing with it. 20,000 hackers didn't download it and start playing with it, but we definitely, I don't know if you can read the dates there, like this, the daily number of unique IPs seen on the Veilid network, took a pretty significant jump during DEF CON 32, because people were downloading Veilid Chat, getting enrolled in the beta. So that was pretty cool to see, like, that we could monitor that in basically real time. And then, like I mentioned, one of the big things that they were really concerned about is figuring out, are people actually upgrading when we push out new versions? And this is not the best graph. The really tall green bars are nodes on the network where we don't know what version of Veilid they were running. either because they downloaded it from the package repo before we set up the monitoring, or because it's some app that somebody's building, or it's Veilid chat, which was never downloaded from the repo. So pretty consistently, unknown has been the largest source of traffic that we see. But you can also see like that orange bar that's growing over time is people that we knew were using 0.34, which was the most recent version that had been released when this snapshot was taken. And then a little later on, TC added nightly builds. And I thought this was a really neat graph that we were able to get, where you can see like every day there's a little hump of people transitioning to the latest nightly build, because presumably they'd set up like a cron job to just upgrade Veilid to the newest nightly build every night. Let's see. Oh, and then in October of last year, they launched 2 new versions in relatively quick succession. And we were able to keep track of people actually upgrading from, I guess, the big blue line that takes the serious dip at the beginning was 0.34. It's what everybody was running, or what a lot of people were running during DEF CON. And then they released 0.40 and it kind of jumped right up in there. And then later in the month, they released 0.41 and it comes in. So it was just a neat experience all around. All right. And just because, oh, I gotta go this way. We're gonna do it live. So let's see. This is the actual Veilid Graylog server. Oh, yeah, I gotta log in. Use a password manager, kids. It makes life better. So I haven't looked at my unparsed logs dashboard in a while. Yay, 0 unparsed logs. I've got parsing rules that cover everything, or at least everything that's come in the last 24 hours. So what's a good one to look at here? Veilid server versions. You can see in the last week, we've had 70 downloads from the package repo. And almost 70% of those downloads are people downloading the nightly build, which is interesting. And we've got it broken down. The deb packages are more popular than the RPMs. AMD 64 is the most popular architecture.
Oh, so there, you have x64 and AIM64. Was there is there some large thing for 32-bit?
I didn't, well, I've already flipped over to this dashboard. The queries have to finish for the dashboard to update, but all right, let's see. Yes, so unknown is still the largest contributor of traffic that we see, but you know, almost as popular as unknown, people running the latest version. And for some odd reason, 0.34, which is 2 versions back, is way more popular than 0.40, which only one person is running. At least only one person that we know of. Like I said, the unknown is a pretty big bucket and covers anyone who started running Veilid before we started monitoring, anyone who's running Veilid chat. We had a bit of an outage with the package repo logs a couple of weeks ago. So there was probably about a month where we weren't getting the package repo logs and nobody noticed. So it's just an interesting thing to play with. So let's see, you were asking about. No, all the architecture versions are 64-bit. I don't know if they have a 32-bit.
We have AMD and ARM, and then you have
Yeah.
x64. 2 of them are like people don't often consider them the same thing. So then really it's just 10% that's on ARM chip or on phone.
Yeah. And I know like at least one of those arms is me, because I run my Veilid headless, I run a Veilid headless node on a Raspberry Pi. Let's see, was there anything else that I thought was pretty cool? We did kind of see that Veilid doesn't actually take up that much in way of system resources. Like most of the Veilid hosts, 95% of the time, the CPU utilization doesn't go over 15%. Half the time, it doesn't go over 6%. The memory usage is, but I'm sure there's more than just Veilid going on those hosts, so. And for anyone who wants to get deeply geeky, these are the processing pipelines that I built up. And the processing pipeline for Veilid includes, like, I think 76 different rules for identifying log types and pulling the data out of them. And the rules are basically just, yeah. If the message starts with the word commit and an open parentheses, then we know, it's the event category is data, the event action is commit, the outcome is success. And then we've got a nice grok pattern that pulls more data out of the log. And that all ends up over in the Veilid node logs, where we can see, like, what are these nodes doing all the time? And it turns out time check is the most common thing that we're seeing in the logs, which was surprising to the guy who wrote the code. It's like, of all the things that are going on, he saw this dashboard and was like, I need to figure out why they're doing so many time checks. So yeah, that's I think that's pretty much what I was going to show. Oh yeah, if you're interested in getting involved with the Veilid project, veilid.com. They've got all the info you need there to run your own headless node, or download the code and start coding, or start building your own project on top of the network. And veilid.com/discord is the redirect link that goes to their Discord server, where they're very active. And Dildog, who is one of the smartest guys I've ever encountered, is also very active. He's the guy that wrote this whole thing, at least the initial version, in Rust. And it was my first time combing through Rust code, trying to figure out what all these logs mean. So a lot of it's way over my head. But if you're an encryption geek or a privacy geek or whatever kind of geek, like, they need all the geeks to help out. They need documentation geeks. They need UI UX geeks, because if you ever get a chance to look at Veilid chat, it's pretty good, but it could use some help. So yeah, that's it for my presentation. So now is the time in the DC407 meeting where we continue talking to each other and getting to know each other and chatting. And yes, I suppose I didn't open up for questions.
Yeah, so one of the first questions I can think of is that if this does end up being any kind of placement for Tor or anything used for privacy, just as you're monitoring a node, what kind of material information can, say, the FBI, if they started to run their own node, what could they grab by just opening those nodes?
Anybody who decides to run their own node is going to wind up storing some of the data for the network. That data is all going to be encrypted with keys they don't have before it lands on their node. So they could try to unencrypt it. Other network or other nodes in the network are going to periodically try to access that data, ask for a copy of it. But because of the way the network's set up, the nodes that are asking for the data are not necessarily the nodes that need the data. So they will know there is data here, but they don't know what it is, and they don't know who's reading it and who's writing it.
So in that case, you can't really get someone to do a timing attack.
I should hope not.
And also, since you're saying before they get to hash all the IP addresses, there's only like 5 billion. Can't someone just make a regular table for that?
Yeah, if you really wanted to, you could. And like, if you want to run your own Veilid node, you're gonna get the IP addresses in the log.
Yeah.
It's gonna be there. But the getting rid of the IP addresses was, it's about respecting the privacy of the people that are using the network. And it's about just not having them, so that if anybody comes asking, we can honestly say, nope, don't have them. Here are the hashes, figure it out yourself. Yeah.
For the presentation, I'm curious, there's like a focus in a lot of, areas on federation in the sense of, not having one single server for like, say, Blue Sky, so that if you wanted to, keep all your followers or your networks, that you'd be able to move platform to platform and not be dependent on one of them. I would assume that the people working on Veilid would share some of the concerns and interests in federation, but is there a degree to which that is already built in or being sought out, or what's Veilid's perspective on that if they have one?
So for the people on the call, the question is about federation and Veilid and the extent to which it's built into the network, or if there are any plans for it. I honestly don't know. I mean, the way things are built, like every node on the network is essentially equal and anyone can stand up and run a node. Any app that attempts to use the network is automatically a node hosting data for the network. But as far as being able to like pick up what's yours and take it with you somewhere else, it's out there, it's encrypted, it's on everyone else's machine, but there's really no, at least my understanding is, there's not much baked in at the moment to really enable you to run an alternate Veilid network. If you wanted to, set up your own on the side, either it's completely isolated or it's part of the network. There's no like in between where you have your isolated one that communicates with the main one and gets the feed and sends stuff back. Either you're in the network or you're not. But get on the Veilid Discord and ask. Any other questions? Edna? Yeah.
So if somebody wants to like replicate what you're doing with making their own Veilid dashboards, do you have any of this information?
Yes. In fact, there is in the official Veilid GitLab repo, there is a section where all of the every for the Veilid Graylog instance is available as a content pack. So you spin up your own Graylog instance, you can just, it's a JSON file, you download it, you install it on your Graylog instance, and now you've got all the processing that I've written. All right, I guess there are no more questions. Thanks.
And I did my announcements.
Yeah.
I have one more announcement
okay,
that I
yeah.
forgot to do. All right. So we are starting a new program or thing that we're doing with DC407 to encourage new speakers. So this is called Lightning Talks. And starting next month for our in-person meeting, we're going to have a lightning talk before our regular meeting speaker, and we're going to continue doing that. If you do a lightning talk, you're going to get a special lightning talk role on the Discord, as well as you'll get a token of appreciation from us that is only given to lightning talk speakers. So whatever you want to talk about is fine. Like if you want to talk about, it does not have to be cybersecurity related. So if you want to talk about Legos, if you want to talk about how cool your dog is and all the things that your dog does, like all the tricks that you've trained it to do, like go for it. We just want you to get the chance to practice talking in front of your peers. So if you are interested, please let me know. This is gonna be a 5 to 15-minute talk. All right, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we have the time. Yeah, come on up. We've got a lightning case. Come on. You stop sharing your slides.
So I'm gonna rip here.
All right.
All right, everybody say thank you, Bourbon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to do it.
All right, my name is Gabriel Yopak. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody out there in cyberspace. So my lightning talk is about the state of, well, not necessarily the state of public education, but I graduated high school back in 1995. I've been a public school teacher since the year 2000. I've taught middle school. I've taught 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, math, social studies, TV production, taught all those things. At any rate, so here is the difference. So I'm 48 years old, and I was in middle school, or sorry, 47. I'll be 48 in June. And I was in middle school. My 8th grade year was 1990, 1991. So we're talking 34 years ago. I was in middle school, quite a long time. And there's a big difference between people my age and the way we learned and students today. The main difference, okay, the main difference, so the way I learned, the way my parents learned, the way my grandparents learned, some of you even here, we learned brute force memorization because we had to, okay? The difference between students even 20 years ago when I started teaching and students today, they all carry external world brains with them, otherwise known as cell phones, okay? So students today don't know how to memorize because they've never had to. So the premium when I was a kid was on memorization. That's how history was taught forever. Names, dates, and dead people. Learn them, know them, now spit them back at me and we'll call that learning. No, that's not learning, that's memorization. There's a difference between the two, okay? What students need to be able to do today, okay, is not memorize things. They need to know how to use the tools. And that, okay, that's where our public school system, and I'm saying this as a teacher, that's where our public school system is falling short. We are still trying to teach memorization. No. If you have children yourself, or if you're going to have children, teach them, because we're not teaching it in schools, teach them good digital literacy. Teach them digital civics. That's, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Digital citizenry. There we go. Because that's what they need. They don't need to memorize stuff because they can access it at any time with their external world brains. They need to know how to use the information, not just access the information. Thank you for thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Here.
Thank you.
For.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for dialing in. The meeting, as far as you are concerned, is officially over. Have a good night.
Goodbye.